Time and time again, Real Madrid has shown some of the greatest performances that world football has ever seen. Even when they've not been so good at all, but still pulling the victory out of nowhere. It happened again in the most recent matchup, when Real Madrid defeated the best team in the world, Manchester City, breaking their 6-year-long unbeaten UCL home record. What's even more surprising is that this team managed to pull it off without their two starting center backs, a true central defensive midfielder, and even without a true number 9. All of that with a third-choice goalkeeper, Lunin, who stood out as the best man on the field. The question that arises out of this is, how does Real Madrid pull off the most impossible comebacks with little to no hope at all? Is there a pattern in these comebacks? And if there's a pattern, then what the hell is it? In this video, we wouldn't just be diving into any tactical analysis, but also looking deep into the mental resilience of every typical player that dons the iconic white jersey. Reason 1, flexibility of play and tactics. One of the core and crucial elements of Real Madrid's consistent success comes down to how quickly they adapt. They're not stuck onto one system unlike their eternal rivals Barcelona, but present a whole different approach to the style of play. Consider the 2024 season, they were counted amongst the best offensive teams in the world, but not so sound defensively. And suddenly, they became one of the best defensive teams in the world against Man City.
And we're talking about the penalties, and we talked about Bellingham, and we all know that he is that glue to that team. He will link the midfield to the two strikers. But Carvajal, sorry, you took a yellow straight away in the game. You have to defend the whole night on Grealish. Then Jeremy Doku. What a game. This is why I always say, football, yes, and I love the way City plays. We cannot talk about that. It is outstanding. But there is something called defending. You can also control a game defending well. And Real Madrid, and I know people will say City was the best team. Defending is part of the game. They defended ever so well against City. They didn't give them a lot. So, as much as people can say City was the best team, you have to defend also in football, and they did that ever so well. So
tell us any team that can knock out a team like Man City 2 times in 3 consecutive seasons? Both the times while taking opposite approaches in tactics and style of play. In the 2022 UCL semi-final against Man City, which is probably one of the greatest comeback stories in Champions League, Real Madrid were 5-3 down on aggregate until the 89th minute. Statistically, they had 1% chance of qualifying through, but then Rodrigo announced himself to world football by scoring a brace in a matter of 65 seconds, pulling off an unbelievable comeback in the very last minute. This was done through an all-attacking approach where they caused an overload in Man City's box to capitalize on any cross that lands near Ederson. The 2022 UCL run will be remembered as one of the most legendary runs by any team in the Champions League. Which team that you know has defeated the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, PSG, featuring Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar, and Man City in a single run? Think about it. And if you look at the 2024 UCL fixture against City, where Real Madrid were heavy underdogs, they pulled off a very unconventional yet beautiful type of footballing style. Both the teams give their all and everything to display one of the most tactically intense matches of football, where Man City were running a riot of asking questions, and Real had an answer to every one of them. They defended on the low block with the 10 men against probably the scariest attack in the world, scoring in the 11th minute with the magic man Rodrigo and sitting low block for the rest of the game. Man City's attack was just too much for them, but their positioning and mental resilience paid off, showing a defensive effort even prime AC Milan and Maldini would be proud of. Even in the penalty shootout, the character and confidence of these players after missing on the first penalty showed just why this club is more than just a football club. Bellingham, with the nerves of ice, immediately took the second penalty. Vasquez showed why he's still the part of Madrid by juggling ball in the face of Ederson. Rudiger buried City by thumping penalty on the left side with all his faith and might. This shows why Real is more than just an elite football club. It's a symbol of showing character and personality, not just another club with elite professional football players. This shows how they may not have a playing identity like Man City or Barcelona, but it's their strength in disguise. It is what keeps them above the rest of the elite clubs in football. If there's no specific style of play, there comes unpredictability, which is the element of Real Madrid's game. Reason 2, scouting, decision-making, and club management. Look back at all of the greatest players that wore the royal white jersey, and you will see a harsh but an intelligent decision pattern by the club management. They don't ever delay getting rid of their best players. Be it Cristiano Ronaldo, Kaká, Arjen Robben, Mesut Ozil, Angel Di Maria, Varane, Casillas. Sergio Ramos, who was probably their greatest defender of all time. Pepe is yet another example. Recently it was Casemiro. Or even Marcelo. The list is filled with probably the best players of the last decade, or even the game. Nobody can point out that any player that left the club had a negative impact for a long period. In fact, their biggest transfer of Ronaldo to Juventus, which is perhaps the hardest transfer decision of all time, was taken without hesitation, which allowed Real Madrid to buy players like Valverde, Rodrigo, Vini Jr. All of the players that are mentioned are all key team players right now. About 60 years ago, the club's greatest legend, Alfredo Di Stefano, left the club in 1964, and just 2 years later, they had gone on to win a European Cup again. Although the reason for him leaving was his age, which was 38 at the time. Reason 3, the change of guards. What's unique about Real Madrid is they always keep what Thierry Henry likes to call as guards, who make sure to let the next squad know what it is exactly to be playing for Madrid.
Ease out and do at the right time.
There's one thing that you have to give them a lot of credit for, is the ability that they have to make sure that they build the team with keeping some of the old guards with them to make sure that they can explain to the guys coming, the young guys coming, what Real Madrid is. One thing that they do ever so well is they know when to get rid of players. It was time for Ronaldo. It was time for Casemiro. It was time for Ozil. Time for Varane. If you think about those three, Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro, they sold the youngest one. You would like to think, why would you sell the youngest one? Well, because they notify that those two can help the Valverde, the Tchouaméni, the Camavinga. They do that ever so well, and you have to give them credit, because when you get rid of the players that I mentioned before, they were outstanding players at that time for your team.
Which in the current campaign are Toni Kroos, Dani Carvajal, and Luka Modric. Even in the current squad, all of the young midfielders such as Arda Güler, Jude Bellingham, Camavinga, all are getting to learn from the world-class midfielders who ruled European football for the past decade. Reason 4, unbreakable mentality. There have been so many instances where they seem to be far from the best team, but in the end, they'll just drop a magical performance for turning the tie around. At this point, scoring stoppage time winners is just another signature move for Real Madrid players, be it Cristiano, Sergio Ramos, Benzema, Rodrigo, Vini Jr., or even the new English sensation Jude Bellingham. The only key to this is the unbreakable winning mentality that only Real Madrid players have. But what truly sets Real Madrid apart is the individual quality and mental resilience that oozes from the squad. Real Madrid doesn't just seek talent, they seek players who embody their champion spirit. This video celebrates the legendary careers of midfield maestros Luka Modric and Toni Kroos. Comment down below, what are your thoughts on their amazing careers? And hey, don't forget to subscribe, as we will bring you the story of this Turkish wonder kid, Arda Güler, coming up next.